call the meeting to order. Karen, can you do the roll call, please?
Dick?
Here.
Otis?
Here.
Nancy? Chris?
Here.
Sally?
Here.
Tor? Here. And Richard?
Here. Okay, do we have any amendments to the agenda for today's meeting?
Like new stuff?
Do we have any changes to, from staff? Yes. Anything, do you have public or?
Not on the list is all.
Okay.
I have something to say, but I'm not on your list.
Okay, there's a place for public comments coming up here in a bit.
Very good, sorry.
All right, no problem. Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept the agenda for the meeting?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any amendments to the minutes from the July 10th meeting? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have public comments. This is a time where people can make comments on anything that's not already scheduled as a public hearing. Okay, please step up to the podium and state your name. Right over here.
I'm Mark Keating. This is my brother Bruce. We live out at Frederick Point. Came in to talk today about the stuff that went on in July, I guess, or June. We were out of town. You gave an easement or a variance to our neighbor up there who's had a 2-year variance to get his temporary, to live in his temporary house to build his new house. We did some research. We can't find a building permit. We can't find an Army Corps permit. We don't know what the status of that building is. Downstairs can't tell me. You guys issued him another year's variance on his property. The man is not staying there. The help in town that works for that company is staying in those trailers. There hasn't been a lick of work done on it for over a year, since last July. I was gone for 4 months this year, but I can look at the building and say nothing's done. The one trailer that is in question is full of commercial plumbing gear, not residential. I'm a retired carpenter. I know the difference. The doors blow open, they're not locked. It's not that I go up and snoop, but when you're standing in the Muskegon looking at a trailer, it's pretty obvious. 10-inch pipe, 4-inch pipe. Without the permits, why did you guys issue him a variance for 2 years and then give him an extension? I don't like looking at it. It's 2 trailers with a building over it. No building permit for that. I'm just kind of, why is this guy sliding when I built my house 30 years ago without a road and I needed a building permit? I like neighbors, but I don't like trailers. And that's basically...
Trying to make a Ketchikan Mechanical.
Yes, well, he's my partner. He lives there also.
No, I said he has to be at the mic to speak.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were deaf. But
No, it's being
It's so recorded.
It's
okay.
recorded.
Bruce Katie, and when we met him, he told us he was setting up his Ketchikan Mechanical shop there for doing business. He did business with the city, and they were staying and working out there when they did the electrical building. They also did business at PFI at the same time, so the guy that's staying there now is just somebody working in town who's staying there.
They're not making any progress on the house. There's
And
no
as far
nail
as
bending, no
like
nail
houses
pounding.
and stuff,
You don't put in...
we don't want commercial in our subdivision. It was.
We have enough commercial going on now.
Dave, you
need to
remember,
enforce.
1983, it was zoned single-family, rural residential only. I remember the state paper to word for word. Only means only. So that's all I got to say is I'd like it to stay the way it was when I bought my property so that I don't have to look at commercial stuff. Thank you.
That's basically it. We can't find evidence of permits, so therefore you guys guys don't really have any legs to stand on to issue him a variance to stay up there. It's like, what, the horse before the wagon, or the wagon before the horse? Any questions that I could answer for you? That's basically all I have to say. I mean, I've got a bunch of stuff highlighted here. It was supposed to be done by 15th, 2015, September 30th. Completing work authorized ends. If you sell the property, this is on the Army Corps of Engineer permit for James Pop, who owned the land when he got the permit. He didn't re-up the permit because he would have been liable to re-up the permit when he sold the property. Everybody's name's on the sale except for Brian's. So he, as far as I can tell, and Liz couldn't find an Army Corps permit, she couldn't even find a building permit. It should be just walk over to the file and pull it out and say he's got one. There's not one mounted on the job. Like I said, I'm a retired carpenter.
By the mic.
If you don't have a building permit where public can see it, you don't have a building permit. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair, Joe, refresh us. My understanding when they were here, they were only supposed to occupy that for while they were supposedly, they were getting right on the construction of that rolling.
This is what we were told.
Okay.
If you remember that,
Yeah, no, I remember.
I
He said he-
think it's in the minutes stating
Yeah, no, I
pretty
see the
clearly
minutes.
that when we're here working on it is the only time which some people are staying there.
So-
We're not out there policing it and watching
Right.
the door all the time.
So our only option is to deny a variance when it comes up in another year.
Well, he doesn't have a permit at all to be building out there?
Because of lying.
You got to control we can only answer
Okay.
one question at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Exhibit. It says shop and apartments he wants to build. That's commercial.
Can you
Apartments is
please be at the microphone?
multi-dwelling. Apartments are multi-dwelling, and that's what he applied to you with, a shop and apartments, that's he wants to build. Plus, from the original Army Corps permit, he's moved the building outside of the pad, and the pops, it showed it inside the pad. And there was no rock when it
So I guess
transferred.
our first question is, does he have a building permit?
Yeah.
The whole starting point.
That's the basic question.
And we're not trying to stop him from building a house. There's already 2 or 3 other commercial operations going on out there that need to shut down. They're an inconvenience to the people who are not commercial. They don't have variances as far as we know. There's a welding shop, there's a multi-family rental, and then there was a better shop out past Brian, out past us there that is for sale now. And just because there's a road doesn't mean that everything's changed, you know. I mean, as far as I know, it's still single-family rural residential only, and it should stay that way.
Joe, we gave him is to build a house.
Yeah, but he's-
So that was our intent when we see. When we
But
go from that.
this is what he applied to you with, is an apartment. So he's
We didn't
counting.
give him permission to do that. That wasn't us. Anyway, we'll start
So
with
basically,
the
that's my biggest concern is, I got maybe 20 years left and I don't care anymore, but in the next 20 years, I don't want to look at a plumbing shop next to me, okay?
Joe, do they have a building permit?
Here's the progression of things as they went. Okay, so he went out there, he was going to do this project. Okay, so they came to you for the conditional use permit to do the original trailer for construction purposes, correct? That's so if I remember right back then, as I think it was the staff recommendation not to give it to him in the first place, but he talked it and it went through anyway. So that's passed. And that being said, so what he went out, he set up this trailer, his trailer with the little apartment in it, and then lo and behold, here comes this pit trailer with this pipe in it. Again, I asked the same question. I agree with Mr. Cady that looking at that pipe, it doesn't look like residential pipe. I asked the question. I got to believe people when they tell me what they're doing. I says, hey, you can't be running this Ketchikan mechanical piping out of here. He says, I'm not going to. That's piping for my house. Okay? So that being said, then, so he's got this trailer that he says his building materials are in, plus this trailer he's living in. So it's kind of expanded a little bit on that point. The house section itself, he said he had the pilings, he had the right, he was going to go ahead and do his pilings. He gave me a piling layout. I says, okay, drive the pilings. That's fine, but don't go any further. But then when we put the deck on, I said, you need a foundation-only permit, which I will issue a foundation-only permit, but not allowing him to go any further than that deck. So basically, he will have a foundation-only permit for that deck, which is just the deck and the pilings, end of construction until we get full plan review. And then the trailers are a whole different scenario. And he was right here, you know, and he said it in the meeting here too, to you, to me, to everybody on the record, that there was no commercial operations out of that property. Am I correct? And I believe the minutes reflect that.
Correct.
So,
I mean,
that's where we're at now.
Okay, thanks.
So there's no building permit?
Not at the moment, other than, yes. He probably should have gotten, as it went past pilings, he should have gotten a foundation-only permit for that.
Okay.
Once again, I want to reiterate, I've got over 30 years in the building trades. When you pump a piling, you're building a house. What is this foundation permit are you speaking of?
It's what now?
What is that? A foundation permit? What?
What's that?
Question
A
mark?
foundation-only permit?
Yes.
Correct.
How does a foundation not relate to a house? How do you drive
We've
a
done
piling?
that. We've done that historically for many people around here who can't either afford or don't want to proceed at any given year. They want to get the foundation in, like whether it be piling, whether it be a cement foundation, and let it sit. That is a building permit, you're right, but it's a foundation-only building.
Then there is a set of plans.
For the house itself,
How do you know where to put the pilings if you don't know where the house is going?
with the deck, yes, there is.
And there is a deck on those pilings.
Yes.
It's 2x6, 2x8.
The planking, the decking?
Yes.
I think it's 2x8 decking.
Yeah. And so you're telling me pilings, subfloor doesn't come under building
I
permit?
did not say that.
What
I
did
said
you
a
say?
building permit is a foundation-only permit is a building permit, correct?
Then how did he drive pilings without a building permit?
He needs to have
The
one.
pilings were there before before his trailers were there.
It's happened. It's happened before.
I'm taking the money back.
It's happened before.
Okay. All right, whatever.
You see that this is going nowhere.
Anyway.
So, just a question. So at the end of the year, if he hasn't applied for a building permit, then we can tell him we don't re-up his permit for his trailers.
The end of the year.
End of this year, like December 31st.
At the end of his variance.
His variance, okay.
No,
What's-
no. His conditional, you granted him another year.
Right.
So he has until July 1st, 2019 to get a certificate of occupancy.
Right.
And
So
that's
he-
the only condition you put on that.
Right. So in other words-
regardless of whether he gets a building permit, regardless of what he does, the only deciding factor is whether he has a certificate of occupancy on July 1st, 2019.
And the trailers are removed?
That was not a condition that you put in the conditional use permit.
The conditional
has
use permit was
stated it.
only for the trailers.
Right.
So if it's done in the year, the trailers have to be gone.
Well, that's not necessarily true. You didn't put that in the conditional use permit
How do we miss that?
as one of the conditions. Once a dwelling is built, he can certainly keep trailers as an accessory use, and lots of people do that. He has stated here multiple times that he was going to remove that trailer.
Right.
We're not going to have the authority to force him to do that because that was not part of the conditional use permit that the commission issued him. You basically gave him a blanket, all we need to see is a certificate of occupancy by a certain date, and there were no other conditions.
What does that mean exactly? Condition occupancy?
So when he's done with the house, it's basically occupiable. So Joe will go in and do a final inspection.
So he has to build the house in this next year.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
Well, I
get
know
a building
it-
permit, build a house, make it livable, inspect it in the next year.
By July 1st, yeah.
I see Dave tried to put that in, but since it wasn't part of the original one 2 years ago, it couldn't be added last month.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's, when we
so that wasn't,
did this originally. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I mean, all we can tell you guys is he's got until July 1 of next year to build a dwelling, and if he doesn't build it, he can't have it, it's not zoned commercial, so he can't be running commercial.
Doesn't, then
Yeah.
he's going to be required to remove the trailers.
Liz?
Again, he's not going to necessarily be
I
required to
understand
remove
that.
the trailers.
Liz, can I ask that you make sure that this testimony is presented at the meeting, in the July meeting in a year?
Sure.
Okay.
Now, I got the paper Liz gave to us from 2 to 3 years ago, says exactly what you guys said just now. In a year, we'll kick them out. 2 years, we'll kick them out. Well, 2 years went by, and we'll give him a year more. 3 years goes by, we're not kicking him out. He's got a building built on those trailers. To make that go away, it's going to take a fine from that man for not having a building permit to build on top of 2 trailers.
So what we can do at this point, though, is he has permission now for the next...
Yeah, for another year.
Yeah, so at this point, there's not much we can do.
Right, and another thing I'd like to point out, but I don't know this lady's name, but sends out notice to people that live 600 feet away. Mr. Lee, Eric, didn't get a notice. I didn't get a notice. He didn't get a notice. We're the only ones that live 600 feet away. That rule needs to be enforced, not just talked about.
The first meeting I missed.
The first meeting he missed because you changed the date. Tonight he's standing on the door going, huh, where is everybody? And then the next week, we're out of town. So we waited our 2 years, come in, find out. He beat us by 3 weeks. Now he's got another year permit. We didn't even get to voice our opinion. And all we're asking is enforce your own rules. It says right in the thing, if he doesn't follow the rules, you can revoke his permits.
But what rule are you saying that he's not?
He's not done. He had
correct.
2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, but he's saying special circumstances.
Right,
So
he's
we're
lying to you because they've not been out there. There's nobody. There's a guy standing there right now. He works in town. He's not banging nails out there. As a carpenter, I built my house without a road, with a helicopter on my back, in a year. A year. It don't take 3 years with a road to your house to build a house. Something's screwy. And check the permit thing. If that's not happening, you guys are getting played, and if one guy plays you down here, that guy plays you out there, pretty soon you got commercial next to your house. If it was at your house, none of you people would put up with this.
Yeah, that's why I put out the notice that hopefully people would come.
Okay.
If the notices didn't get to you, that's a
Don't get me
separate thing.
wrong. I didn't come here to be a jerk off.
No, appreciate it.
I'm
We
not,
wish it was last week.
and I'm not saying, Brian, welcome to the neighborhood. It's just that when you're being played, you got to see it. And sometimes it takes somebody else to point it out to you. You guys are being played. There's ordinances, there's specific rules that I would have to follow.
We have to make sure that if there's a violation that he has done to the code, then that's an enforceable thing that Joe can take care of. We can't really do anything at this point until the variances that's been issued has run out. However, or the conditional use permit has run out. However, we have requested now that your testimony today will be available to us at the meeting, so that we have that to look at, as well as what he has to say.
Guy, so,
Yeah.
no, it's more
We're not bad
information.
guys.
We don't know the
We're
whole
just-
situation.
Yeah.
So if he comes in here and explains it a certain way and no one else...
You've heard
Yeah.
what he has to say.
Right.
And you haven't heard anything from...
Well, we're hearing you now, and that we're trying to make sure that what you're saying today is available to us the next time we're making a decision on
Have a
this.
minute, drive out there and look at it.
So,
That's pretty self-explanatory right there. I mean, go look at it. There is no building permit, and I know that for a fact that if it's not posted where you can't see it, that's illegal.
Over the trailers.
No more than the rest or
So
something.
at this point, all we can say is in 11 months that we're basically his permission to be making progress in the structure runs out. So at that point, then
We're back to here again, and he gets another extension, and we look at the pile.
But he does need a permit for the foundation because he claims the foundation's in place. So doesn't he need a permit for that?
Yes, he's in violation right now. He's done
I mean, according to his testimony in our minutes, it says he has the foundation in place.
It is. There's a subfloor.
So he should have a building permit.
Trailers.
Yeah.
We built the structure over Andy Reinbach's trailer, we had to have a permit for that. What's the difference? You gave them variance for the trailer, but not to build a structure over them. Permit for the structure.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Dave.
Could I know Joe will love this. Joe, could you update us maybe at the next meeting and tell us if there's anything else you can illuminate us on this?
Let me just inform you, he will have a permit by the next meeting, if that's,
Okay.
I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Okay.
Been talking to him for the past week here now, getting this, I want an as-built of that foundation.
Okay.
Although I did get a piling layout before he even put the pilings in. I want an as-built of the deck and the foundation and the structure, and he will have permits.
Okay.
Whether they be after the fact or what, they will be in place.
Okay.
And I apologize that it did, the deck, like I said, once it went past pilings, and I disagree in a way that if you have a piling layout, I've always said people, you can drive pilings on your property. True enough, it is a foundation, guys. But I inform people that if you bring me that foundation, if you come back now with house plans that they don't match up with the bearing points of that foundation, you'll A, be driving more pilings, or you will B, redesigning your house.
Right.
I mean, it won't.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Understand.
taking a risk if you're driving pilings on something. Because this happened before, somebody drove some pilings, and all of a sudden they say, oh no, we were going to put, cathedral ceiling here, all of a sudden we got a load point bearing coming down, and I don't have a piling there. Well, you're going to add a piling. I mean, it just, it's just it's kind of the nature of the beast here in Petersburg that people kind of piece things together, and that's, I said, it's not the first one that's come up and says, I want to, I haven't finalized my house plans, I'm tweaking things here, I want to do my foundation. We have issued foundation permits, I think, two or three of them in the past year. I think the Whitethorn place out here was a foundation only because he wanted to get his concrete work in before he finalized his house plans up above. But the house plans will match what's going on down below.
Joe?
But once he got past pilings and put the deck on there, I should have stopped him right there and said, let's get a permit on this thing. But
You might also check with him if he does indeed have his core permit, because he stated in the minutes he does have one.
yeah.
I don't know if it's in his name or the previous owner's, but it should be in his name.
Yes, and I've asked him for it. And he said it's here, that when he comes up next month, he'll get it to me.
Great, thank you.
I asked him for it. He says I could have him beat around, but he says his core permit is here. So that being said, I don't know if he has the core permit, why he could go to the state and get it. I'm sure if he said who he was, so you could get a copy, but I don't know. But that's what he told me, and so I got to take him on his word again that he'll get it to me. He said he's coming up September 1st.
Can you just give us a report on where we are on this at the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And then on another note, and I don't know what happened with the notices, but going back to 2 years ago, there was no testimony, if you look back on the records, in opposition to this conditional use permit.
You changed the meeting. I was there.
Yeah, that 2 years ago, yeah, well, that's, I don't know what happened
I
there.
left it with Liz, and she put it in the minutes for me. It's in the minutes.
That there was opposition, there was a letter of opposition, sorry, there was
wasn't a letter, you just had a comment.
a statement of opposition, okay. It would have been nice to have testimony there, but here we are.
Got nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to speak to the notice for the extension, so for a extension, there's only a public hearing after you extend it 2 times. So we don't do the notices. I did publish it in the newspaper, but we don't do the whole public notice thing like we did for the original action. The commission is only evaluating whether the person was delayed by circumstances beyond their control. And so that's really what you're looking at in terms of whether to grant the extension or not. It's not whether people are supporting what they're doing or what's going on. However, if they're in violation of our code, then that's a different story altogether. And it would still be, you could extend it one more time without a public hearing, and then by the 3rd time we would do a public hearing. And generally, if we do a public hearing, I would go ahead, even though it's not required, to do public notice to the neighbors at that point. So, but the original one, when you initially gave the permit, that did go out to public notice, and I believe the meeting, there was a lack of quorum, and the meeting got changed at the last minute, canceled, and then rescheduled. And Mr. Cady did come and talk to me, and his comments I spoke to and put on the record at that meeting. So,
Thank you, Liz.
Well, gentlemen, I said what I had to say, and it doesn't seem like you heard
Thank you.
what I said, so.
Thank you.
That's not true. We did hear your comments.
Yes, we do. Thanks for listening. We'll see. What we see.
Okay. Guess we have nothing on the consent calendar. Let's move on to public hearing items. We have an application from Eric and Kiefer Keegle for variance from rear yard and side yard setback requirements at 402 Lumber Street. Do we have any public testimony on this? Please come to the mic and state your name.
Hi. I'm Kiefer, Eric's son. He's out of town for work right now, so I'm kind of here to field any questions you guys had about us proposing the variance.
Starts on page 8.
I wanted to look at this a second.
Would you like me to state the proposal, or do you guys?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what we're proposing right now is a 12 by 20 shop with loft storage, and it's going to have a 10 by 20 foot carport extending off the side. The setbacks can't be met on the 20-foot back line and the north 10-foot line, so we're asking a variance to have the structure to be built within 3 feet of each property line.
And the reason you're pushing it so far back on the property?
Back on the property, the neighbor's home on the north property line is almost directly on our property line there, and the roof overhang actually overhangs over to our property line, and it's 2-story roof, and then the snowfall kind of falls right down into where we would have originally probably tried to put it forward. And with the existing house and the existing shed, that's kind of the only location that we can really.
What's your separation you're looking at between the shed and the existing shed and the new shed?
Right now, I was looking about 7 feet as I have it drawn up.
7 feet.
Yeah, if we had 3-foot variance from the north, it would give us about 30 feet of room from the existing shed side to that north line. And we're proposing right now to be 22 feet, so yeah, about 8 to 7 feet.
Okay. Just trying to get an idea of dimensions since I'm not on this little drawing
Sure,
here. So.
trust me, I've been trying to do the same thing.
Any other questions?
I was just gonna ask, so there's like, I guess, foundation or for the side carport, so that's gonna be 5 feet from the neighbor's property line?
3 feet is what I was asking for. I'm not.
Was that 3 feet to the roof overhang or 3 feet to where the,
I would imagine it'd be the roof overhang is what you're asking, the foundation.
Yeah.
So the foundation will be tucked in a little bit more, but I believe the roof overhang will be right in around that 3-foot mark, depending on what you guys decide to grant us, I guess.
Yeah, because then we run into the snow issue on your neighbor. You're gonna be, if you get too close to their property line, then the snow will be going their way.
Sure, yeah. That's...
Oh, he's on top of their property.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you, do you have the sky view? If you look at their property line is directly on ours and
Yeah.
over it, so.
and it looks like the new structure is just a single story, so it's not like it's dropping it from way off where it's going to shoot the snow way out.
What's that?
Looks like a single, and the roof doesn't look very high up.
Yeah, it won't be very high. I think I have the
Gonna
top of it will be 8
drop right
feet.
off the edge.
Will the carport side be on the property line side or the shop side?
It'll be on the north line side, so the property with the overhang on the north side. The shop side will be towards the shed, existing shed.
Right, I got that. Yeah, I understand. I do pretty well with English. Thank you.
Well, I think the way it's proposed is 5-foot setback from your neighbor. So that would that work for you, or
It could work.
maybe 2 more feet towards your other shed? I guess?
Well, the roof overhang doesn't count in a setback.
Yeah, he was thinking it's 3-foot setback. I'm saying in
Yeah.
the proposal it's 5, and then I'll just ask you. If
Is it 5 in the proposal? Sorry, I kind of helped my dad put it together, but I wasn't.
3 from the back property line and 5 from your neighbor.
okay, here's,
Well, we were trying to go for the
3 from the
and
back. 3 and 3 is what it shows on the drawing here on the,
That's what I drew up, yeah. He must
On
have
the-
maybe fudged up the actual application.
Yeah, I think the recommendation is a 5-foot setback from the neighbors, just so you keep that separation and snow isn't issues. I guess number 3 on page 9 is what I'm kind of getting to that.
So would that setback be the foundation, or you like the roof line to end at 3 feet? What would be your guys' judgment on that?
let me ask, Joe, what would you like to see on that, a 3-foot setback or a 5-foot setback? And is that it to the roof line or to the structure?
Historically, what you guys done, some of these that are going there, you've dictated where the roof line ends.
I just wanted to make sure what...
If you
Yeah.
put the post at 5 feet and had, I don't know, it doesn't quite say how big an overhang it is.
In the drawing, it looks like it's about 2 feet.
2 feet maybe, if these
Yeah.
squares are 8, 9, 10. And it doesn't need to be a 2-foot, that's just what I have drawn out, we could shorten that.
Yeah.
Because just correct me if I'm wrong, Kiefer, it says, kind of looking at the 2 drawings, I guess I've looked at this several times, but I look at it closer now. It says 10 and 12 here with 3 foot from that 10 mark on this drawing. And then your actual side view drawing shows 10 and 12, but it's 10 to the post with 2-foot overhang. That would be an error, I would say. I have another drawing here.
Yeah.
That would be an error. So I think we're going to have, between the posts, we're looking about 8 feet, so we could have a truck and maybe the skip maybe fit in there without getting snowed on in the winter, and have the roof overhang be around the 10.
Joe, I had another question for you.
Yeah,
Is there any concern of separation from building standpoint to that other shed?
Between the 2 sheds, no, they're a similar use, so not really.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was...
It's similar, and if he's got 5 feet between the buildings, that's good.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't creating other issues.
If it was something, yeah, it's a shop and a shop, a shop and a shed and a shed.
Yeah.
So, not really.
So it sounds like then if we split the difference, if the roof overhang is 5 feet from your neighbor's property, it'd be 5 feet off on the other side of the other shed. Does that seem like it work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I prefer it not to be super close, because then we're going to have also our snowfall going into our existing shed, so that becomes a little bit of a hassle once again. I'd prefer to have the 3 foot, but it's your guys' call, obviously. It's not my call to make, but it would make life easier if it was that way. The carport would line up better with the current rock pad we have we're pulling in. It would be advantageous for us to have it at the 3-foot mark on both lines. So I think if you looked at it in that direction, if you kept the post at 5 feet on the north side, on the property side, and cut down the overhang so it only went 16 inches more into the setback, I think that would be doable, and that would keep him still the overhang approximately 3.5 feet from the property line. And it's such a short roof, it's not going to be dumping much snow, so basically what snow comes off there probably will stay on their property. But instead of a 2-foot overhang, keep it at a 16-inch overhang on that side. And that would be doable to me, I think, as far as that. And then and looking at that too, in the back corner of that lot, it's pretty overgrown back there. That was going to be my next statement, was I can't speak for my neighbor, but it didn't seem like a whole lot goes on back there. It's well overgrown. The house
wooded.
itself is, well, I'm not going to speak on the house, but it doesn't seem like a whole lot goes on back behind the house there. So I don't think the snow falling off there would be too much of an issue. Yeah. And if he hasn't said anything to us about it with our proposals being put out, so. Yeah, but we don't want to preclude anybody that may futurely own that to develop back there. So just because the present owner isn't developing back there doesn't mean that the future owners might not. But the way I see it is that post would stay 5 feet off of that, and that's where you measure setbacks anyways, to the post. And then, but I was bringing up historically, sometimes you at this level have dictated where the overhangs end on a couple of these variances, I remember. So,
Thank you, Joe. Any further discussion? Any other questions? Thank you.
okay, okay. Is there a conclusion, or?
We'll vote here in just a minute.
Thank you.
Discussion?
I like what Joe said. Limit it to the post, but say like a 16-inch overhang.
I like the idea of just accepting the recommendation that we have here, except adding no more than 16 inches overhang on the property line side of the shed.
Yeah, I like that too.
So. Someone want to make a motion?
I move to accept the proposal with the addition of a requirement that no more than a 16-inch overhang on the roof.
A second.
And include the finding of fact.
Liz?
And include the finding of facts.
Go ahead. No, you.
Yeah, the proposal is for 3 feet on each one, so you have
3 feet
to...
on the rear and
And-
5 feet on the side.
So what you want to do is, you want to approve the recommendation in the staff report and the findings, not the proposal. 'cause
Okay.
The proposal
Yeah.
is 3 and 3.
Yeah, let me redo that.
Okay?
I make a motion to approve the recommendations by the staff, but also include a 16-inch overhang limit on the roof,
On the property line side.
on the property line side.
Second?
Second.
And include the finding of facts.
Yeah, and
And
include
include the finding of facts.
Karen?
What you want, right? All righty, Dave,
Yes.
Otis,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Thor,
Yep.
Richard.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to a application from St. Catherine of Siena Catholic Church for variance from the front yard setback requirement at 306 North 3rd Street. Do you have any public testimony?
My name is Don Koenig, and I represent the St. Catherine Church and read the application. I'm here to answer any questions you might have or concerns.
Okay. Anybody?
If there be no questions, I'll be seated.
I guess I got one question, and that is the roof going to be far enough inside the curb so nobody will hit it? I know downtown, when I was downtown, some of the roofs got hit because they were right up out to the curb, and the trucks seem to have their box a little bit.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes, in that regard, if you look at the blueprints, the red line that was drawn on the map shows that not encroaching upon the city's sidewalk, and so there would be like 5 feet from
Okay. Yeah,
5 foot distance between the edge of the sidewalk to the curb. So, and the slope of the roof is away from the angle on that approach would be away from the dispensing snow to the sides, not onto the public sidewalk.
Yeah, so the roof is just covering the ramp,
Correct.
and the ramp is 5 feet from the sidewalk?
Exactly.
Okay. And there's no roof extending out on that part that goes out to the sidewalk from the bottom of the ramp? Okay.
What kind of material is the roof going to be made out of? Is it going to be clear or?
Well, it could be, it's proposed as metal.
Okay.
To be similar to the roof. It could also be considered clear plastic, I suppose.
Oh, you're saying he's not building?
What?
From this corner here, you're saying he's not building from there to the sidewalk?
Apparently, that's what I'm gathering. Is that?
Can I come forward?
Yeah.
Sure.
This red is the roof you're proposing, right? And you're taking it all the way to the edge of the sidewalk?
Oh, so it is going to the edge of the sidewalk?
Yeah, on page 42, I guess, he's saying the red line is the proposed roof and goes all the way to the sidewalk.
Goes all the way to the sidewalk. That's what I was just trying to clarify there, so.
I actually plow these sidewalks quite a bit in the wintertime, and I don't see a problem with that with my ATV.
Yeah.
Also, as an adjacent property owner, I don't see any problem with this.
One thing that was brought up is possibly, I guess, covering the one on Dolphin Street and the one on 3rd Street maybe could be like a view obstruction of that intersection and also for your neighbor. And so would you be, if you only end up covering one, like on Dolphin, the handicap accessible one, would that be amenable to you, or are you looking to cover both of them?
We can cover both of them.
Liz, has there been any feedback from any other neighbors concerning this?
Nope.
Liz, I was going to ask you, what is the thought behind the approval for one and not the other?
Exactly what it's saying in the staff report, which is if you have a roof coming in on that front side, that house is kind of set back where it's supposed to be, in keeping with our setback requirements. And so they kind of have a view of the mountain and the school and kind of an open area. And if you bring that roof out, I think you're pretty much going to block their view, and kind of, we've got the other house also is very far forward, so you're kind of making them into, building out and making them kind of in a corridor almost, and then you're blocking either side views for them.
If I may clarify that comment.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
So do you plan on maintaining the stairs in the, the 3rd Street entrance?
Correct.
Okay.
can't change that. But the stairway, the roof elevation on that would be 8 plus about 11 feet high from the peak of the roof. Currently, there are 2 trees that are already covered that way. You can put a lot of debris on it, and we're talking about snow removal. I really find everyone, if you want to defer taking action on this, you're sure welcome to, but go take a look for yourself. The trees themselves, if anything, would block any view of Petersburg Mountain or any view out that side. I think that's an unfounded assertion from my perspective. We're not talking about, I would agree, if we were to take the trees down and put a high roof cover, which would be similar to the shape of the roof, which would almost be 24 feet high, and go out and cover that, then you would have a concern. But this is a small covered walkway that would be proposed from that area, no higher than 11 feet. Just for clarification.
Might also interject, the neighbors in that White House that we're talking about potentially blocking the view from are in town. They've been in town for the last month or whatever. They've had plenty of time to object to this if they had a problem with blocking their view, and they haven't.
And they're the same neighbors whose roof line encroaches onto the Catholic Church and dumps their snow in your lot?
I don't think it really does. It's a shingle roof on that White House, so the snow stays put pretty well.
But it's still built so close to the property line that the roof line is over your property.
Right.
Bet you they won't complain much.
No, I can't imagine they will.
Chair?
Yes.
Just I do believe, too, when we're saying encroaching on that side, I do believe on that side of the property line, the Catholic Church has gotten variances in the past to build closer to that property line also, which would be on the...
Is that on the...
This, whatever direction that is.
South side?
South, yeah, the opposite of Charles W. Street. So when you say that other house is close, that I think that because the hall there got a variance years ago to build, so that's the proximity on that side is close also.
Mr. Chairman, also I want to remind the Commission that even though you all know this, whether a neighbor objects or supports is not a deciding factor. That's not one of the criteria that you're being asked to use to determine whether to grant a variance or not. It can be used to support your arguments or bring some idea forward that fits in with the criteria, but that's not a deciding factor.
Looking at this, I'm just trying to figure out how much is the porch, the front of the porch set back from the front property line. And I don't see that anywhere in these drawings. Oh, there it is. It's on this one, 27 feet, 10 inches.
When I went and looked at it too, the neighbor, the next house on 3rd Street, I guess, the one we're talking about, it doesn't seem to be set back more than the church currently is.
It doesn't, or it does?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it is.
And what is the setback that's supposed to be there for off of 3rd Street? Just to refresh.
20 feet.
It's 20 feet, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to hear from you guys. Okay. So without getting a variance, they could build a roof that covered that first set of stairs going up to the set of stairs that's closest to the porch, but they couldn't go any further pretty much than that. from what I'm gathering. Is that correct?
Would be to cover the ramp, right? So you're going off the porch.
Yeah, I'm talking on the 3rd Street side, on the stairs. They can cover the stairs that are closest to the porch, but they couldn't go any further than that toward 3rd Street.
It doesn't look like they could cover the bottom couple of steps.
Yeah, but it's got that stepped, there's a step there's steps that are out closer to the road they couldn't cover, but this main set of stairs right by the porch they could cover without getting a variance.
Are you seeing the distance there? Because I'm not seeing it.
It's on page 29. They show from and I'm assuming that's from the property line, the 27 feet 10 inches.
And then right next to there, it shows...
And then it shows 19 feet of walkway, and then it shows the stairs on both ends of that.
The second set of stairs, yeah. So yeah, you could go out 7 feet 10 inches, right? If that's to the property line on 29.
I'm just trying to clarify.
Yeah, so as long as you're maintaining that 20-foot setback.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I'm not sure if
Yeah.
where that's being measured from, I guess, is
Right. It's hard to tell.
For some reason, it's not on the as-built, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Would walkway go past the property line?
Yeah, it kind of seems like on page 27, and I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like the wood walk goes into the right-of-way. But
Yeah, it looks like it does, although on page 28, they show that part is removed past the sidewalk, because the sidewalk is marked.
well, the right-of-way is, the property line is, isn't this the property line back here? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the red extends beyond it looks like to me it extends beyond the property line.
Beyond the property line, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but again, it's not really clear how much,
Right.
what that goes into. You know.
Right.
I think we can safely say that if we're 20 feet in from the property line, then they could build whatever that distance is between that 20 feet and the structure.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you. Discussion?
I think definitely the ramp, covering the handicap ramp I don't have any issues at all with that. I still don't know whether you need to have the ramp or the entryway in front also covered. It seems like a lot of coverage on the lot. I understand the issues that snow cause and things like that, but as long as you have one entrance that's accessible to everybody, that's undercovered, seems like that's reasonable, but I don't know about the covering the actual the entire distance of the walkway in front of the building. Pretty soon you're going to have the whole lot covered because we gave you a big. I haven't seen the grotto covering yet.
Ask me a question?
Yeah, have you? Yeah, I haven't been up to see that yet.
Previously, the commission reviewed a request for covering the grotto with the structure. And the capital project list that the church has long-term on its plans. They prioritized the work that's to be done, okay? And the grotto has been replaced with, as its first priority, the covering, the construction, first the removal of the walkway that was on city property, and then to build a walkway, and then to deal with the walkways as far as a higher priority than the grotto. The grotto still is on number 2 or number 3 in the projects. Looking to the future, I do not believe there's any other requests in the future for variances for the church, but there may be some other structure abroad or something.
No, I understand.
But it's a priority that was modified by the council, so that's why this work is being done ahead of the grotto.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand the need for a walkway like this. I get that 100%.
Okay.
And I see why that's a priority.
I would encourage you, I know you made a comment regarding the covering of the other walkway. I would hope that you would seriously consider supporting that cover, because part of it is a process of snow removal. It's an ongoing call of volunteer people that have to come and deal with this snow issue, and we have people coming and going both ways. People like the addition of the walkway, the handicap walkway. That's incidental, but to expect everybody to come, when they come to the church, they're parking on both Dolphin and East Street, and whatever access is there. So I would encourage you to at least consider it. If you decide not to, we'll accept whatever your decision is. Okay?
Thanks.
Thank you. And one further comment. I think that regarding the comment that, if anyone has a comment that's negatory or would like to engage us in a conversation regarding the structure of the roof and what it's going to look like, the church would be more than happy to engage that next door neighbor in a conversation and make sure that their concerns are addressed. If they say, well, whether you put a 412 pitch, it doesn't have to comply with the 612 pitch that's currently in the church structure. It could be 405, whatever would bring that slope down of the roof so that would not impede, or impair, I should say, their view in any way. I'm more than willing to talk with them about that. And if there's, hopefully, to always try to seek compromise with your neighbor. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have a motion?
You have any more thoughts, or pretty settled? I kind of agree with Dave on that.
Well,
Open is necessary.
Yeah, I suggest that we grant the variance right now for the construction of covered walkway for the new handicap ramp. And since I understand that's your priority to build right now, then we could revisit at a later date covering the entrance to the front porch, seeing how the needs work out. That's just kind of a compromise, I guess. I don't have a problem with both of them, but I can kind of see the issue of blocking the view on the front one. So,
but I do agree the tree right now is way bigger. There's no view as it stands right now.
I can't imagine that neighbor having any issue with it. I support both roofs.
I do too.
Then make a motion and I'll vote yes.
Remember that we need to modify findings of fact if we're going to do that, because of the recommendations are not to approve the covered walk on the through the street side.
I'm not quite sure how to make that motion.
The other issue too, Not a big issue, but we're over coverage, it's 35%, 36%. Not a big
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah, with covering both walks, we go to 36% lot coverage.
So I move to accept the application, or the proposal, I guess. I'm not really sure how to make this
Are you
motion.
just two different ones then? You want to make it clear? Or? The first, I guess I was just thinking, the one on Dolphin Street is clear cut now. They recommend approving it. So then we, on that one, we cleared out. Then if we want to make changes, they're recommending we deny it. If we're going to approve it, then we make changes.
Okay. So I move to accept the covered structure with the findings of fact for the Dolphin Street roof.
I'll second that.
Karen?
Richard?
Yes.
Tor?
Yes.
Sally?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Otis?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Then I move to accept the 3rd Street roof.
Approve a variance.
And approve a variance for exceeding the lot coverage limit to allow the 3rd Street roof.
You can't add something that's not been noticed.
What's that?
You can't add a variance when we haven't noticed, we haven't provided public notice for a change in the maximum lot coverage.
Okay.
So that goes back to my original thing that which we just said we approved the Dolphin Street one, and then we'd have to go back and do another whole through process for the covered walkway for the front of the church.
They could do both, but then when they got to the grotto, it's when you add everything together that you get the
Right.
36%.
Right.
So you've already approved the variance for the grotto, but they haven't constructed it. So when we look at it, right now, the lot coverage is under 35%, so they're fine.
Right.
But if they did both of these and then came to do the grotto, then we'd say, okay, well, now you're going to be over the 35%, you're going to need a max coverage variance. But since things aren't constructed,
And there's a time limit too that you have to
yeah, they have 1 year on the grotto variance.
and so I don't see, given what Mr. had said, I don't see that happening. He's going to have to come back and ask for the variance over again for the grotto. So the lot coverage isn't going to be an issue in this case. So,
I don't think I understood what you just said.
I see the grotto being approved and that like coverage being assumed, taken right now.
Right, so if you assume that the grotto in that equation, then it's over. But since it's not built, then we don't calculate it in when we're doing our usual thing, right? So it's only when they would come to apply for the building permit for the
That's why the
grotto.
notice wasn't given now is because
Yeah,
it should
it's not.
still be under.
okay.
Yeah.
So the 35% isn't going to be an issue for right now.
Not if they just proceeded with the walkway covers. It only will come into play for the grotto.
Okay.
Or vice versa, if they did the grotto first, then it would come into play for the last covered walkway.
Okay. So for the purpose of this vote, it's a non-issue. Yeah, so I move to accept the Dolphin Street walkway coverage.
He did that.
I'm sorry, the 3rd Street coverage. But reject the findings of fact where they recommend not to.
It's the second, or it's in the third one, yeah. I was going to say the second number, too.
Yeah. Is that clear enough, or?
just want me to delete that it's going to impact the neighbor? Just delete that section? That
Yes.
paragraph?
You need a second, Richard?
Yes, please.
I'll give you my second.
Thank you.
Karen?
Sally?
Yes?
Chris?
Yes.
Otis?
Yes?
Dave?
Yes.
Thor?
No.
Richard?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
unfortunately, I have to go on board the barn.
I understand.
I'll see you guys later. And I'll be here for and I won't have a barge to load for the next meeting.
Okay.
9/11.
We still have a quorum.
We still have a quorum. Yes. Okay, we have an application from Richard Feist for a minor what? Robert, sorry. Robert Feist for a minor subdivision at 203 Chief John Lott Street. Do we have any public testimony? Any staff comments on this?
As usual, they're in the staff report.
Okay.
Good.
I've got a question. What was the idea behind this? Did he say? Like, I don't see an application like the rationale behind it at all. I was wondering if you guys any idea.
They don't need a rationale. As long as they want to subdivide their property, they can subdivide their property. So I assume that they want to sell it or whatever, but
I was just trying to get, they want to separate off this just little 737 square foot corner is what they're doing?
yes.
4A.
4A.
Yeah.
And this is zone commercial, all right?
And there's no minimum lot size on that? Okay.
In my mind, I'd like to see a rationale behind like changing something. But like, I'd like to understand, I guess, where he's going. If he like, that's just my thought. Like, there's no reason to divvy things up in my mind unless there's like a reason.
Well, I think you should assume that that portion would be sold and developed,
Yeah.
because that's what you could do once you subdivide. So imagine some sort of structure going there or some sort of development happening there.
This is all commercial in the adjoining properties? Discussion? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept this plot. Is that enough?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that it's just a preliminary plat, not a final plat. Okay, so they're going to have to come back and demonstrate that they've made all the necessary public improvements before we approve a final plat, and they're allowed to sell the property and record it and then sell the property, if that's what they want to do.
And what are the improvements? They got to have utilities and such into the lot? Okay.
Water and sewer.
Water, sewer, power.
And then dedication of a portion of land there to make sure that there's actually a right of, legal access to the lot. And then also, there's a bit of encroachment going on there on the Chief John Lott side, just stuff that would be good to clear that out to make it easier for people to park along that street than it is currently, so.
We have a second?
I second.
On all these, we should include the finding of facts, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Can we amend that, include the finding of facts?
It's actually conditions of approval, but same difference, I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Your motion.
I was amending.
Oh, yeah.
In a second.
I'll second the amendment. So we got to
Karen?
vote on the amendment.
Okay.
So Karen?
So we're voting on the amendment, just to clarify.
All right. Otis,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
and Tor.
Yes.
And
The original motion?
Sally,
Yes.
Tor,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and Otis.
Yes.
So there's only qualifier on that. So I was talking about the finding of facts, that basically our decisions based upon this, and so you were talking about the conditions, right? That both of those things should be included, is that what you were saying?
Oh, I see, you're talking about those first findings of fact, and then I was talking about the conditions on part two,
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
So did you not want to include
No,
this?
I'm clarifying, so both of those things should be included.
Yeah,
right?
they should.
Yeah. Okay. Non-agenda items. Any commissioner comments? Staff comments?
I think you're leaving your hat there on the floor.
Mr. Braun?
Hat,
Pat?
hat.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.